Hi, Ashley here with hearthookhome.com, and today we are learning how to crochet the gorgeous Apache Tears Crochet Stitch. This stitch uses mostly single crochets. I like to work them into the back loop only, and then we use the treble crochet to work into the front loop only of the stitch 3 rows below. This is a lot easier than it sounds, but there are a few things to note about this stitch. So first thing is that we are always working on the right side of the fabric. That means that since we have to change colors each row to get this effect, we have to clip our yarn every row end and attach new yarn every row end, which can be very cumbersome and really get in the way. And it's a lot of yarn tails, right? So one thing that you can do is you can tie a few of these off and create a little fringe on the edge, which looks super cute. Or you can crochet around the yarn tails, which is what I have done in this crochet square here. I have crocheted to where when I attached with the white here, I crocheted around the white yarn tail. And then when I got over here, I crocheted around the blue yarn tail to hide that on that side. So for this square, I didn't have to weave in a single end. If you're working the Apache Tears in a flat pattern back and forth, or back since you're only working on the right side, that is a great way to minimize the amount of yarn tails that you are going to have to weave in. Another thing that you can do instead is to work this stitch in the round. So this is a purse pattern that I have coming out soon, just a little cute little clutch bag. This has been worked in the spiral to where you do never have to turn your work. So what that means is that as you change colors every row, you just carry that yarn up, and then all you have to weave in at the end is your finishing yarn tails. So this is something beautiful and a great way to learn this technique so you don't have all of those yarn tails to weave in when you're finished. For the video purposes, I am leaving out the two darkest colors because they are hard to see on video. So instead, we will be starting with our gold, tan, cream, and white for our tutorial. This swatch here is what we are going to be making together. This is a 28 stitches wide, so this is a 7-stitch repeat here. It's important to know that you can have this be as wide as you want it to be. If you wanted to have very wide sections of single crochet, that's perfectly fine. Just know that you have here, I have 6 single crochets and then 1 treble crochet. So it's a multiple of 7. So that is why we are starting with 28 single crochets to start the tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and start my slip knot and do my chain of 29 stitches. Now that I've got my 29 chains, I'm going to find the second chain from my hook. I'm going to work into the back bar right here, and I'm just going to single crochet in each chain all the way back to the end. And when I get there, I should have 28 single crochets. So here are my 28 single crochet stitches for my first row. I'm going to clip my yarn because we have to clip our yarn and change every single row. And I'm just going to fasten off, just pull it just like that. So now we've got our 28 stitches. Now we are going to attach with the next color in the sequence. So we're going to grab our tan. In this tutorial, I am going to crochet around my yarn tails so that you cannot have all of these. You can see it's quite easy to just leave your yarn tail hanging there, but it's also very easy to crochet around it so that you don't have to weave those in. So I'm going to look at the side of my first stitch. I've got this a little chain right on the side of it, not on the top, but on the side. I'm going to go attach in the back part of that chain or the side of that stitch like that. With my new yarn, I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to make sure I have enough to crochet around. It doesn't have to be a ton because you are using a lot of yarn just crocheting around these tails or weaving them in. So once you've got a good length on your tail there, you're going to chain 1 to help that stay in place. Now, I don't count that as a stitch, that's just my attaching. So I'm counting this as stitch number 1. And I am always, always, always in this entire pattern, when I am crocheting a single crochet, I'm always going into the back loop only. So that means you've got your front loop here and you've got your back loop here. I'm only going into this back loop to make my single crochet, and I'm also going to go around that yarn tail just like that to help weave it in as I go, right? So I'm going to do my single crochet, and now I'm just going to single crochet in each stitch all the way to the end, always in the back loop only. And for a while I'm going to crochet around this yarn tail. Once I get past a certain point where I feel like it's woven in or it's not going anywhere, then I'll just drop it to the back and continue on. Once I get within a few inches of the end of the left edge, I'm going to pull up that yarn tail and start crocheting around it. So I'm going to hold it like this, and I'm going to crochet around it to hide that in place, just like I did the beginning yarn tail. There's my second to last, and then the last stitch goes here. Beautiful. Now you can go over here and pull this yellow. You can do this at the end also, but you can pull this yellow to make sure it's nice and secure, nice and tight. Isn't that beautiful? So now I'm going to clip my yarn over here, leaving enough to crochet around that next time. And I'm going to fasten off. Beautiful. And now I'm going to attach in the looking at the right side again, I'm going to attach in this little chain over here. So this is the chain that we did to start the previous row. I'm going to attach in that with the next color, which is this cream color. I'm going to make sure that I have not a huge tail, but just enough to crochet around it for a while. When I get that, I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to look at the first actual stitch, which is this one right here, and I'm going to crochet in the back loop only around the yarn tail. And with this stitch, you need to have a few rows of single crochet as a backdrop before you can work one of your treble crochets into the third row below it, right? So I'm going to continue hiding the yarn tail on this one. When I get within a few inches of the left edge, I'll pull up my tan yarn tail and crochet around that. When you get to within a few inches of the end, pull that yarn tail and just kind of lay it on top of your work, and we'll crochet around that. Your final stitch there. We're going to fasten off. And now we are ready to start row 4. Row 4 is the first actual Apache Tears crochet stitch row, where we're doing the treble crochet worked into 3 rows below. So I'm going to attach my next yarn color, so my white, in the chain on the side, just like this. Make sure it's not too long. I'm going to pull up that loop, and then I'm going to chain one to help it lock into place. Lay my yarn across the top of my work. I'm going to do this is the first actual treble crochet row, or the row that includes treble crochets. So I'm going to place a few single crochets first. I'm going to go into the back loop only, always, 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 of that first stitch, the second stitch, and then the third stitch. So I'm going to wrap it twice for a treble crochet. I'm going to look 1, 2, 3 rows below, and I'm going to go into that front loop only and make my treble crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's it. So now I'm going to, since I went down into this stitch, it looks like I'm skipping this one here, but I'm really just not working it. I worked the one below it, right? So I'm going to single crochet in the next 6 stitches. 1, back loop only, remember, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and drop my yarn tail because it's not going to do much from here on out. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook twice, find the stitch 3 rows down, and do my treble crochet around the front loop there. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So going to skip that one, or make it looks like you're skipping that one, but we're going to go into this one for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wrap it twice, 3 rows down, front loop only, treble crochet. 1, 2, 3. 1. That one, leaving that one unworked. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wrap it twice, 3 rows down, front loop only. 1, 2, 3. And now you're going to, oh, we didn't crochet around the yarn tail. We're going to have to frog a few. I do this a lot, actually, but it is worth it, in my opinion, to just frog back these 4 stitches and hold this up. I did that a lot, actually, when I was doing my square one, just when I was getting used to it, especially in the beginning. Okay, so we've got 1, 2. Now let's do 3, 4, 5, 6. Wrap it twice. We'll do our treble crochet around this stitch here. Okay, we'll make it look like we skipped this one here, and we'll go into this one. 1, 2, and 3. And clip your yarn. We will use that to crochet around. Fasten off. And now we're ready to start on the next color. So we've gone through our 4 color sequence. So now I'm going to reattach with my gold yarn here. So I'm going to find the side of that row, which is this little guy right here. I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to chain 1. Hold that yarn tail there. Get my yarn pulled. And now I'm going to crochet. We did 3 here. Now we're going to do 4. So what we're going to do is basically always crochet until the treble crochet, and then we'll treble in the next one. So that's how we always get them staggering up every single time. We're just starting with 1 more single crochet over here and 1 fewer over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now that we got on top of one of our treble crochets, we're going to place a treble crochet around the first front loop only of the stitch 3 rows below it. So we went into this gold one, now we're going to go into this tan one. Wrap it twice, front loop only, treble crochet. 1, 2, 3. Now it looks like you're skipping that, but you're just missing the stitch you worked into already, right? So now into the next, we're going to do 1, 2, always in the back loop only, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to go ahead and drop my yarn tail to the back, wrap it twice, go around the front loop only of the stitch 3 rows down. So the only thing that we're changing from here on out is literally how many stitches we have here and how many stitches we have here on either side of those treble crochets. Now we're going to take our white yarn tail, hold it up across the back, and crochet around it for the remainder of the row. Put my treble crochet around this one here. And now I'm going to have 2 single crochets at the end of this row. So we're always just taking one from over here and moving it to over here. So clip my yarn, fasten off, attach with the new yarn. So I'm going to use the tan, find my little baby chain over here, pull up my loop, and I'm going to chain 1 to kind of lock it into place. Hold that across the top, single crochet in the back loop only of the first 5 stitches. Now I'm going to place my treble crochet around this stitch here. So it always just stair steps. 6, drop your yarn tail and carry on. Got my yarn tail ready to crochet around. This is the last row that we're going to do a treble crochet, and we always only end with a single crochet. So I'm going to wrap it twice, do my treble crochet, and then this next row we're going to do just a little bit differently. So the final stitch, I'm going into that final stitch for my final single crochet, clip my yarn, fasten off, and I'm ready to attach with the cream. So find my tiny little chain on the side over here, attach the yarn. I'm going to pull up that cream, make sure it's a good length, conserve the tail, right? Chain 1 to lock it in place. Now, we're going to do, this is the last row repeat where we're not going to have a treble start over here because at some point we've got to start new ones, right? On the right edge. So since this has 6 stitches to start, that means the next one is going to be a treble crochet. So I'm going to start this row doing a single crochet in each of the first 6 stitches, back loop only. Now I'm going to do a treble crochet around this white stitch here. Beautiful. Now I'm going to continue 1, 5, 6. Do my treble crochet around this next one here. And then how we end this row, we're not going to put a treble crochet there. Get your yarn tail and move that up into place. So now I get to the end here and I would put a treble crochet around this final, but then I don't have anything to kind of anchor the end of that row. So I just do a single crochet instead and have it end just 1 stitch too soon. I did that here as well, and you cannot really tell. It looks beautiful just the way that it is. And that way it makes it a lot easier when you're going to do a border, that you can just go into those row ends instead of the actual treble crochet itself. So I'm going to clip my yarn, fasten off, and we are ready to start on the next row with the white yarn. So chain 1 to lock it in. And now, since we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, this one right here needs to be a treble crochet to start this row. So I'm going to wrap it twice and go into that yellow or that gold down here and start with a treble crochet. And now I'm going to go into the next 6 stitches around the yarn tail, And we'll do a treble around this gold one here. So that's it. You're always going into the back loop only for your single crochets. You can place, like I said, you can make your width of the single crochet portions. You can make that as wide as you want it to be if you only want to have a few of these staggering columns going up your work. And if you work it in the round, you definitely don't have as many ends to weave in. And if you work around the yarn tails like we are in this tutorial, then you definitely don't have as many yarn tails to weave in that way either. When I get to within a few inches of the end over here, I'm going to grab that. I'll grab the yarn next. This is as short as I like to go. As these columns shift over, you'll have some of these have more length woven in than others. So I'll clip my yarn, fasten off. Voila. So I will continue adding rows in this exact same manner. So I'll attach over here. I'll do my single crochet and then my treble crochet down here. Crochet in these 6 and my treble crochet here. These 6, treble crochet, these 6. And so you repeat that sequence all the way across. When you get to the end, when you're finished, completely finished with your project, if you are using this technique to hide your yarn tails, you'll want to go in and pull your yarn tails nice and tight. You don't want to do it too tight. If you do it too tight, it's very easy to rein it back in. All you have to do in that instance, if you pull one too tight, just kind of pull it back to kind of settle them into place. Then you get to go through and just cut them instead of having to weave them in. Isn't that awesome? I hope you love this tutorial. I hope you love the Apache Tears crochet stitch, and I hope you will crochet again with me soon. Thanks for watching.